This is Bio 181, Chapter 13 on human inheritance. And now we're going to talk about sex-linked traits. So, sex chromosomes are chromosomes that determine the sex of the organism. And that's in contrast to all of the other chromosomes, which are called autosomes. Those are any other chromosome that's not a sex chromosome. So in the case of humans, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22 of them, so 1, 2, 3, all the way to 22 down here, are organized by size. So the biggest ones are the ones that start up here as number 1, and then the ones that are number 2 are going to be the smallest ones that have, the shortest sequence of DNA. So 22 pairs of autosomes, and then we have the sex chromosomes. So the sex chromosomes, whoops, move that. So sex chromosome are going to be X chromosome and Y chromosome. Okay. So in humans, the males generally have one X chromosome and one Y chromosome. The Y chromosome really determining the sex of the male. So it's the Y chromosome that makes a male a male. Females have 2 X chromosomes. You can see them over here, 1, 2, and then male over here on the right, 1 X and 1 Y. And you can see that the X chromosome is much larger in humans than the Y chromosome. So there's actually a lot more genes over here on the X chromosome that are not represented over here on the Y. And so it only takes one allele, whatever that allele is that's carried on the X chromosome, for that characteristic to be expressed. So in humans, the default setting is female, and the Y chromosome contains genes that are going to activate male characteristics. So here's our short Y chromosome. There's a region called the SRY. And once that, early on in the development of the embryo, it's going to activate hormones and genes that are going to start producing secondary male characteristics, and they're going to repress the genes for ovaries and even start degrading with enzymes some of the structures that have been there that are associated with females. So interesting, I find this fascinating. The structure and number of sex chromosomes vary in different species. So I only learned about X and Y for a long time. So the female XX and the male XY. That's the case for humans and also a lot of other animals, including Drosophila, which is the this fruit fly shown here. However, in birds, we have the opposite case. So it's the male that has this homologous pair, 2 of the same type of sex chromosome. And then it's the female that has the heterozygous pair, so 2 that are different in terms of the overall pairing of the sex chromosome. Grasshoppers are, if you have 2 X's, that's going to be a female. And if you just have 1 X, that's actually going to be a male. So there's no Y present. It's just the absence of a chromosome will give you a male. And then for honeybees, it's actually a product of fertilization. So if you have a sperm and an egg, then you've got a diploid organism. So if they're fertilized, that's going to be female. And if it's an unfertilized egg, it's going to be haploid, and that is going to be a male. Okay, so the fact that you have this disparity in terms of the difference in the X and Y chromosome leads to different patterns of inheritance. And specifically, we're going to look at X-linked recessive inheritance. So that means when you've got, remember, you've got an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, right? These are our sex chromosomes. So this would be a male. And so you might have a gene down here that's represented only on the X and not on the Y. So that is an X-linked gene. And if it's recessive, then you really have an interesting pattern of inheritance where males are much more likely than females to express the recessive trait. If they just have one copy of a recessive trait, it's going to be expressed because there are only, in this case, it's not diploid, right? There's no analog over on the Y chromosome. And so you just have this one allele, the recessive allele. That's all you need, and it will be expressed. All right, so let's look at an example of that. Change over here. Okay, so let's say well, first of all, when you do a Punnett square with X-linked traits or sex-linked traits, you are going to now use the notation for male being X and Y chromosome. We'll put that along the top, and then on the side, I'm going to put the female, so XX. Okay, so again, this is our female along the side. Over here, this is our male. So in the male sperm, just to make sure we all are on the same page here, here's the sperm. So one sperm is, 50% of the sperm are going to get the X chromosome when we go through meiosis, and 50% are going to get the Y chromosome. And then over here for the female, they're both going to get X chromosomes. When you have fertilization, then you have the pairing again of the sperm and the egg. So you're going to create half of the offspring with two X's. So half of the offspring are going to be female, which is what you would expect, right? 50% are going to be female. And then the other half, X and Y, are going to be male. So then you have 50% that are going to be male. So if we're looking at how to represent this, the type of notation, again, we're going to be using superscripts. So say we're going to look at color blindness. So capital N would be normal vision, normal vision. This is a X-linked recessive trait. And then the lowercase n here is going to be color blindness. So let's say that we have a father that has normal vision. So the father, let's write it over here. Whoops, that's the mom. So the father, this is male, symbol for male. So the father has an X and a Y. So he's got normal vision. It's only located on the X chromosome. So we're only going to have a superscript on the X. And then often the Y is left blank. But in some notations, if you look online, you put a 0 there. So either way is fine. I'm happy with either way. It's kind of nice to have the 0 because you're not just forgetting something. The female, let's go with a female that also has normal vision, but she's a carrier. So she's got one normal allele and one colorblind allele. So the phenotype of the father is normal vision, and the phenotype, the physical expression of the mother, is normal vision. But she is heterozygous. So now I'm going to go back over here to our Punnett square. For the male, I'm just going to put the capital N for the color vision. I will put a 0 here for the Y. And then for the female, we've got one normal vision and one recessive allele. And then we would just, again, pair these for all of the possible offspring. Oops. And just by convention, we're going to put the dominant allele first. So over here, the capital N first, and then the lowercase n. And then for this one, the lowercase. All right, so then if we look at the ratio of the trait of interest here, which is going to be color blindness, we can see that this first option, so 25% of the offspring are going to be female, so female, and they're going to have normal vision. and they are homozygous. I'll just write it, homozygous. Need to have a little more space over here. Okay. So female normal vision, homozygous dominant. Okay, so that's 1/4. And then we've got the other female down here. So we've got another female. And again, the phenotype, the physical expression, phenotype, is the same. So normal vision, normal vision. So even though the genotype is heterozygous, right, they're still expressing the dominant phenotype. So 1/4 here. So that means basically all of the females have normal vision. Normal. Now let's look at the males. So for the males, we've got this one up here. We'll start with this one. So we've got normal vision male. Oops. All right. Let me write male normal. Normal. And then over here in this, I'll write the genotype. Okay. So that's this. X, Y, normal. So we've got 1/4 of the male's normal vision. And then this last one, we have the male, and this male is, this group is colorblind. Colorblind. So we have 1/4 of the offspring that would have the recessive allele. It wouldn't be masked by a dominant allele, so they would be colorblind, right? So then we have 1/4 that is normal, male, and then 1/4 is colorblind. All right, so all of this is just to show that males are much more likely to carry a recessive trait. So here the male is 1/4, whereas all of the females are normal vision. So the males are much more likely to express, if I said that, express the recessive trait. All right. So here's an example of an inheritance pattern. And if you look at it, what sex is expressing the trait of interest? So it's out of all of them, only the males in this example are expressing the trait. So if you had to guess, then you could make a very good hypothesis that this might be an X-linked recessive trait, X-linked recessive, because only the males are showing the trait, right? And we have a decent sample size here. All right, and that's it for this video.